Welcome back to the deep dive. I am genuinely excited for this one because we are uh, wading into some seriously choppy waters in the automotive world today.
We really are.
Usually when we talk about consumer tech phones, laptops, TVs, or even most cars, the narrative's pretty straightforward, right?
It usually is. The assumption is just linear progress. Newer is faster.
And we're smarter.
Newer has more pixels. Newer is, well, it's just supposed to be better. That is the default setting of the entire consumer market.
Exactly. That is the gospel of capitalism and engineering. But today, we are looking at a fascinating case study where that logic doesn't just break down, it actually gets thrown into reverse.
Oh, completely. We're talking about the Porsche 911,
The icon.
the benchmark, the
Yeah.
car that every single other sports car is measured against.
And specifically, we are looking at this modern civil war that's happening between three distinct generations. You've got the 991.1, the 991.2, and the current 992.
I'd say it's less of a civil war and more of a philosophical crisis for enthusiasts. It's a battle between the auditory purity of the past, the digital performance of the future, and this very specific middle ground that some people are claiming is the absolute peak.
And that middle ground is our star today, the 919.1.2 generation.
The sweet spot, according to some.
It is. And we're basing this deep dive on a really interesting mix of sources. We've got, stacks of heated threads from Reddit and Piston Heads where owners are absolutely tearing their hair out trying to decide which model to buy.
No, the forums are a war zone on this topic.
They are. We also have expert reviews from places like Car and Driver, Top Gear, Scut Cars, giving us the hard data. But the anchor for today, and I really want to emphasize this, is a very candid, very detailed narrative from a longtime owner.
And that's key.
This isn't a journalist borrowing a car for an hour. This is a manifesto from a guy who put his own money down.
And that context just changes everything, doesn't it? When a journalist reviews a car, they don't pay for the tires. They don't pay for the depreciation.
Not a cent.
This owner's perspective is so compelling because it is grounded in the financial reality of ownership.
He makes the case that the 991.2, specifically the GTS model, is the smart money choice. And he puts a very specific number on it. He claims that by choosing the older 991.2 GPS over brand new 992, he is saving nearly 200 million won.
Which is just a staggering amount of money. For our international listeners, depending on the market and the options list, we all know how long that Porsche options list is. That translates roughly to a gap of, what, 100,000 to 150,000 US dollars.
That is life-changing money for a lot of people. You could buy a house in some places for that.
Easily.
So the claim is, you save that massive chunk of cash, and you aren't just settling for an old car, you're actually getting a better driver's car.
That is a bold, bold claim.
It's a huge claim.
Yeah.
So buckle up. If you've ever wondered if the latest and greatest is actually just a marketing trap, this is the deep dive for you.
Let's get into the machinery.
But before we even talk about turbos and torque vectors and horsepower figures, we have to talk about the philosophy.
The mindset.
Yes, the mindset. Our primary source starts with a concept that I think applies to way more than just cars. He talks about the experience cost.
This is such a crucial mindset shift. Most people, when they get into the territory of buying a high-end sports car, something that costs six figures, they're paralyzed by the economics of it.
Totally. They look at the car as an asset on a balance sheet.
And the depreciation fear kicks in.
Oh, it's real.
It is incredibly real. They worry about every single mile putting a dent in the resale value. They wrap the car in cotton wool.
It's the garage queen syndrome.
Exactly. They park it in a climate-controlled garage, and they look at it, but they don't drive it because they're just terrified of ruining their investment.
Right. It's like buying a nice pair of limited edition sneakers and never taking them out of the box because you don't want to crease the toe.
You own them, but do you really have them?
Exactly. But this owner, he just flips it on its head. He says, I don't worship the car. He views the money lost in depreciation not as a financial loss, but as a fee he pays for the experience of driving.
It's a completely liberating way to look at it. He calls it the experience cost. If you buy a car, drive the wheels off it for 2 years, and sell it for, say, $20,000 less than you bought it for, you didn't lose $20,000.
Right.
You spent $20,000 to purchase 2 years of sunsets, adrenaline, canyon runs, and memories.
And this feeds directly into his whole strategy of buying used, specifically the 991.2.
Of course.
Because if you buy the new one, that experience fee is much, much higher.
Significantly higher. I mean, if you buy a brand new 992 right off the showroom floor, you are taking the absolute steepest part of that depreciation curve.
The vertical drop.
The moment you drive it off the lot, poof, there goes 10–15%. You are paying a massive premium for the new car smell and the vanity of having the latest year on your registration.
I like that, the vanity tax.
That's exactly what it is. But if you buy a used 991.2, the first owner already paid that tax for you.
They took the hit.
They took the hit. And that allows the second owner, or a smart money buyer, to drive it completely guilt-free. You're paying for the joy of use, not the anxiety of ownership.
You can put 10,000 miles on it without feeling like you're just burning cash in a fireplace.
Exactly.
He also makes a really interesting distinction about what this car actually is. He compares the 911 to the 718, the Cayman or Boxster.
Right.
Now, on paper, enthusiasts often say the 718 is the purer car. It's mid-engined, it's lighter, it rotates right around your hips.
It's a dedicated sports car platform, and it's fantastic, no question.
But our source argues the 718 is the weekend toy. It's the fun car.
And the 911.
That's the daily driver.
That aligns perfectly with the engineering intent of the 911 going back 60 years. Well, the 718 is agile, yes, but it's loud. The engine is literally right behind your ear. There's very little storage space. The 911, with the engine hung out in the rear, has always been the grand tourer of sports cars. It has back seats.
Which are, let's be honest, completely useless for adults.
Oh, completely useless for humans with legs. But they are fantastic for luggage.
For groceries or a dog?
Exactly. The cabin is airier, the visibility is better. It just feels like a substantial car you can actually live with every day.
He calls it the sunset view factor. And I love this image he paints.
Okay.
He compares the 911 to these high-strung supercars like McLarens. He says, if you're in a McLaren, you're stressed. You're listening for weird mechanical rattles. You're dodging potholes because the carbon splitter costs more than a Honda Civic.
You're worried about it breaking down.
You can't enjoy the view. You can't look at the sunset.
It's what I call supercar anxiety. You become a custodian of the machine rather than the master of it.
Yes. But in the 911, he says you can relax. You can look at the sunset. You can observe your surroundings. It balances that adrenaline with this incredible composure.
That's the classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality of the 911, and especially the GTS trims we'll talk about later. It can be docile enough to commute in traffic. I mean, your grandmother could drive it to church. But when you turn that little dial on the steering wheel, it transforms.
Into what?
Into something that is faster than most supercars from just a decade ago. It doesn't demand 100% of your mental bandwidth just to keep it moving in a straight line.
So we've established the mindset. By Caio used to save the depreciation hit, drive it hard, and enjoy the sunset without the stress.
A great philosophy.
But now we have to address the elephant in the room, or maybe the screaming cat in the room. The transition from the 991.1 to the 991.2.
The Great Divide. This is where the Porsche community really splits into two religious factions.
On one side, you have the purists. They worship the 991.1, which was built roughly between, 2011 and 2016?
That's right.
Why? Because it was the last of the naturally aspirated engines. No turbos, just pure atmospheric combustion.
And this is where the market data absolutely supports the emotion. The 991.1 is holding its value incredibly well, almost like a collector's item.
And the reason is sound.
Sonic emotion.
We look at threads from Reddit and Piston Heads, and the descriptions of the 991.1 sound are almost poetry. People call it otherworldly, quintessential, and animal rage.
I've seen those.
One user, Adept Psychology, said he drove the newer cars, admitted they were faster, but said, and I'm quoting, "I might have to keep this 991.1 forever just because of the noise it makes above 5,000 RPM.
And that's the key metric right there. 5,000 RPM. Let's maybe explain naturally aspirated for a second for everyone listening.
Good idea.
In these engines, the car literally has to suck in air to mix with fuel. It relies on atmospheric pressure. So to make power, the engine has to spin faster and faster to gulp in more of that air.
You have to work for it.
You do. The power delivery is linear. At 2,000 RPM, it's pretty mild. At 4,000, it wakes up. At 7,000, it's just screaming.
So it creates a sense of occasion.
It's a build-up to a crescendo. It's theatrical. It forces you to drive aggressively to get that reward.
Every on-ramp is a performance.
Exactly. But then came 2017, and Porsche did the turbo pivot.
Sacrilege.
They put 3.0-liter twin-turbo engines in the Carrera and GTS models for the 991.2 generation. The purists screamed, they cried about vacuum cleaner noises. But our sources and the hard data tell a very, very different story.
The 991.2 is the rational fun choice. While the 9901.1 wins on sound, the 9991.2 obliterates it on accessibility, and it's all about torque.
Let's unpack the torque advantage.
Please, because people throw around horsepower and torque all the time. What is the practical difference here for a driver who just wants to have fun?
Okay, simple analogy. Think of horsepower as how fast you hit the wall.
Okay,
Think of torque as how far you take the wall with you.
I like that.
Or, in driving terms, horsepower is your top speed capability at the end of a long straight. Torque is that punch in the gut you feel when you step on the gas at a stoplight.
So torque is the shove.
Yes. In the 991.1, if you're at 2,000 RPM just cruising along and you floor it, not much happens immediately. You have to wait for the revs to build.
They have to downshift.
Exactly. In the 991.2, because the turbo's forcing air into the engine, you have peak torque available from just 2,150 RPM.
That's basically just off idle. It's nothing.
It's nothing. Stunt cars and Car and Driver highlight this extensively. You get this massive shove in the back instantly. You don't have to downshift 3 times to pass someone on the highway. You just lean on the throttle and the car surges.
It feels effortless.
It's faster in the real world where 99% of driving happens.
Our primary source owner puts it this way. The 991.1 is for saving and collecting. It's a museum piece you drive on Sundays. The 991.2 is for driving hard at a better price.
That's a great summary.
And he addresses the sound issue, too. He admits the 991.1 screams better, but he says the 991.2 isn't bad, it's just different.
It has its own character. It's a deeper note. And
Right.
you get the turbo whistles, the induction swoosh, and the exhaust creates these pops and bangs on the overrun when you lift off the gas.
It's a different kind of drama.
It's a more mechanical industrial symphony rather than a pure operatic note.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of owners find that turbo whistle just as addictive because you hear it at low speeds, not just when you're breaking the sound barrier.
So if you want an investment piece that howls like a banshee, get the 991.1. But if you want a car that punches you in the gut when the light turns green,
It's the 991.2. It's the better tool for actually navigating traffic and having fun without risking jail time by revving to 8,000 RPM in a school zone.
now let's move to the main event. The battle that is top of mind for anyone with a checkbook right now. The 991.2 versus the brand new current generation 992.
This is where that newer is better logic faces its absolute toughest test.
Let's start with the money again because it really bears repeating. Our source explicitly mentions a price gap of nearly 2.0. That's 200 million won.
It's a huge number.
In the U.S. market, like we said, depending on the spec, you're looking at $100,000, maybe $150,000 difference between a used 991.2 GTS and a brand new optioned out 992 GTS or turbo.
That is a massive, massive premium. Think about what else you could buy for 150 grand.
You could buy a 991.2 GTS and a very nice luxury SUV for the family.
Or a boat. Or pay off a mortgage. So the question becomes, is the 992 actually $150,000 better?
The owner says absolutely not. And his first point is visual. He argues that to the average person on the street, not the Porsche nerds like us, but normal people, a 991.2 and a 992 look almost identical.
Porsche design is famously evolutionary, not revolutionary. The silhouette is the same. The flex factor, the ability to impress your neighbors or the valet at a restaurant is largely the same.
But 911 is a 911.
You pull up in a 911, people think, nice car. They aren't checking the VIN number to see if it's a 2018 or a 2024.
So the social cachet is the same. But the 991.2 achieves it at a fraction of the entry cost. But surely the interior of the new car is miles ahead. It's newer tech.
Well, this is where the fight gets really dirty. This is the battle of analog versus digital. And there is one specific component in the 992 that gets absolutely roasted in all of our sources.
I know exactly what you're going to say. 2 words.
Go on.
Bronze shaver.
The nubbin, yes.
Let's just explain this tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
In the 991.2, even if you had the automatic PDK transmission, you had a substantial physical gear lever in the center console.
You could grab it, it felt mechanical. You could slap it over into manual mode and push forward to downshift, pull back to upshift. It invited you to use it. It felt like part of the driving experience.
In the 992, that lever is gone. It's replaced by this tiny little nubbin toggle switch that looks exactly like the power switch on an electric razor.
Hence the bronze shaver nickname.
And the problem isn't just that it looks silly.
No, it's functional. You can't shift gears with it. You can only put it in drive or reverse. If you want to shift manually, you have to use the plastic paddles on the steering wheel.
It disconnects the driver from the machine. It removes an input.
It does. It frees up space for, I guess, bigger cup holders, but it removes a tactile interaction point, and that theme continues with the rest of the interior.
It does. The 992 is all touchscreens and haptic feedback. The 991.2 is the last generation with a button-heavy console.
And, usually button-heavy is a critique in a car review.
Right, they say it looks dated. But our source loves the buttons. He wants a physical button to stiffen the suspension. He wants a physical button to open the exhaust valves. He doesn't want to dig through 3 sub-menus on a touchscreen when he's trying to drive.
This is such a common complaint in modern automotive UX. Screens are cheap to manufacture, they look sleek in the showroom, but buttons are safer and they're just more satisfying to use. Muscle memory works with buttons.
You can find the exhaust button without looking.
You can't do that with a smooth glass screen.
And then there's the PCM, the infotainment system. The owner prefers the older PCM 4.5 in the 991.2 over the newer PCM 5.5 or 6.0 in the 992.
Okay, that's interesting.
He specifically mentions wired CarPlay.
That sounds counterintuitive. Usually tech enthusiasts are screaming for wireless everything. Why does he want a cable?
You'd think. But he talks about the half-screen issue in some of the newer widescreens and the general glitchiness of wireless connections.
We've all been there. Your phone doesn't connect or it lags.
Right. With the wire, it's instant. It's lossless audio. And he admits he initially wanted to smash the older system because it looked dated, but he experienced what he calls a natural healing process.
Natural healing, I like that.
He grew to love its simplicity. Just works every time. It has a retro charm. It fits the character of the car better. It's there to support the drive, not dominate it like a giant iPad glued to the dash.
That's a really valid point. Sometimes simpler really is better, especially in a performance car.
Now, to be fair, and we need to be fair here because we do have sources from owners who absolutely adore their 992s.
Absolutely, and we shouldn't dismiss them. The 992 is objectively an engineering marvel.
Right. We have owners who say the 992 is noticeably faster, it has more grip, the front end is wider, so the turn end is sharper. If you are chasing lap times on a track, or if you just love having the sharpest, most modern screens and driver aids,
then the 992 is the better car. There is no doubt about it. If you put a 991.2 and a 992 on a racetrack with a professional driver, the 992 will win. Every time.
Yeah.
It has less body roll, it is more stable, it is technically superior.
Right. I can hear a butt coming.
The reviews from piston heads and car and driver, they consistently describe the 992 as sterile.
Sterile?
One reviewer called it numb, another said it is too perfect.
Too perfect. Yeah. That is such a weird criticism of a car, but I think I get it.
It's so capable that it masks the sensation of speed. You could be doing 100 miles an hour and it feels like 50. The electric steering is incredibly precise, but it filters out all the road texture.
It isolates you.
It drives the driver.
Whereas the 991.2.
It retains a narrower, slightly more mechanical feel. It's the bridge. It's modern enough to be fast and safe. It has that amazing turbo torque. But it's old enough to let you feel the grain of the asphalt through the steering wheel. It hasn't been completely filtered by digital algorithms yet.
So the verdict on the 991.2 versus 992 rivalry seems to be the 992 is a better machine, but the 991.2 is a better sports car for the feeling.
And for $150,000 less, that's the sweet spot. It allows you to have your cake and eat it too.
Now, within the 991.2 lineup, our source is very specific. He didn't just buy a base Carrera, he bought the GTS.
The sweet spot of the sweet spot.
And he, along with stud cars and pretty much every reviewer we read, claims the GTS is the Goldilocks spec.
Yeah.
Why is the GTS so special?
The GTS Gran Turismo Sport is basically Porsche's greatest hits album.
Okay.
Porsche's notorious for their options list, right? You can buy a base Carrera, but then you have to pay extra for big wheels, extra for the sport exhaust, extra for the active suspension.
It's death by 1,000 clicks on the configurator.
Exactly. The GTS takes the Carrera S, which is already a very fast car, and they bundle all the performance options that enthusiasts actually want: sport chrono, sport exhaust, better brakes, active suspension, and they sell it as a package.
It's the bargain supercar.
It really is. Stuttcars notes that trying to option a Carrera S to match a GTS actually costs more than just buying the GTS in the first place.
And it gets things you can't get on a normal Carrera, specifically the wide body.
The hips. You have to talk about the hips.
The hips.
Usually, only the all-wheel drive Carrera 4 models get those wider rear fenders, but the GTS gives you the wide body. Even if you buy the pure rear-wheel drive version, it just looks fantastic. It looks planted.
And it gets the center lock wheels from the Turbo S.
Which are a complete pain to change if you get a flat tire on the side of the road, but they look like pure race car tech.
And statistically, it's just a monster. It gets the power kit standard, which bumps it to, what, 450 horsepower?
450 horsepower, the 0 to 60 time is 3.4 seconds.
Which, for context, is faster than the Porsche 959.
I'm glad you brought that up. The 959 was the legendary supercar from the 80s. It was the fastest car in the world, a technological spaceship.
A poster on every kid's wall.
And you can now buy that level of performance in a daily drivable GTS for a fraction of the cost.
And speaking of daily drivability, our source makes a direct comparison to the McLaren 570S. He apparently considered or experienced both.
This is a really critical comparison for the learner persona who might be shopping in this price bracket. You look at a used McLaren 570S and a Porsche 911 GTS. The McLaren is exotic. It has those billionaire doors that open upwards.
It looks like a spaceship. It screams, "Look at me."
But the ownership experience, as the source says, is a pain. He mentions the lift anxiety. Every speed bump in a McLaren is a negotiation.
You have to stop, push a button, wait for the hydraulic nose to lift, crawl over, and then lower it.
And you look like an idiot holding up traffic.
You do.
Yeah.
And you worry about reliability. It's wide. It's hard to park. It's stressful.
Whereas the 911 GTS,
it just handles life. It has enough ground clearance for most bumps. It's narrow enough for city streets. But when you stomp on the gas, it keeps up with McLaren.
He calls it devastatingly fast without being devastating to live with.
It comes back to that sunset view again. You aren't sweating the small stuff. You're just driving.
That is the core value proposition of the 911. It respects your time and your sanity.
Now, if you are going to hunt for a 991.2 GTS after listening to this, our owner says there are two options you absolutely must check the box for. If a car doesn't have them, walk away.
PDCC and rear axle steering, the magic options.
He has a hilarious quote about this. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, "If you crash a car equipped with these options, you either really can't drive or you were incredibly unlucky and slipped on water while praying."
That is a colorful way to put it, but mechanically he's not wrong. These two systems completely defy physics.
Okay, let's start with rear axle steering. What is actually happening there?
So traditionally, only the front wheels turn. But with rear axle steering, the rear wheels can turn by a few degrees.
Which sounds kind of dangerous. The back is turning.
It's brilliant. At low speed, say, in a parking lot or a tight hairpin turn, the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction to the front wheels.
So they countersteer.
Right. And this effectively shrinks the car. It virtually shortens the wheelbase. It makes the car feel tiny, agile, and incredibly eager to rotate.
The source notes that it feels strange at first.
It does, because the car turns tighter than your brain expects. It just pivots around you like a shopping cart.
And at high speeds.
The opposite happens. The rear wheels turn in the same direction as the front wheels. This virtually lengthens the wheelbase. So when you change lanes on the highway at 80 miles per hour, the car doesn't twitch. It just glides laterally. It's rock stable.
So you get a go-kart in the corners and a limo on the highway.
It opens up a new world in cornering capabilities. It is not a gimmick.
And PDCC, Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control.
That's the active anti-roll system. In a normal car, when you turn hard into a corner, physics wants the body of the car to lean or roll to the outside.
Like a boat tipping.
Exactly. PDCC uses hydraulic or electric motors on the anti-roll bars to actively push against that lean. It applies an opposing force instantly.
So the car just goes flat.
Dead flat. It's like a magic hand is holding the car level. This keeps the tires perfectly planted on the road surface, maximizing the contact patch. It makes the car feel like it's on rails. It's spooky.
So for a listener who maybe isn't a pro racing driver, these options are basically cheat codes.
They're huge confidence boosters. They allow a normal driver to access 80 or 90% of the car's potential without feeling like the car is going to bite them. They make the 991.2 feel far more modern than its age suggests.
That explains why he's so adamant. It transforms the car from a good sports car to a physics-defying machine.
And it reinforces the value argument. You're getting technology that is still cutting edge today in a package that has already taken its biggest depreciation hit.
We've talked performance, we've talked tech. Let's briefly touch on the look, because vanity is a thing. We all want our car to look cool. Interestingly, our owner source brings up the 996 generation, the one from the late 90s with the Friday headlights that everyone used to hate. He says he's growing fond of it.
This is a growing trend in the Porsche world. The ugly duckling is becoming the swan, and the reason is size.
He calls it frog-like, and he compares that to the 992, which he calls bloated.
The 992 is a big car. It's wide. It has a lot of presence, but it takes up a lot of the lane. It feels closer to a Panamera in size than the original 911.
And the 991.2.
It sits right in the middle. It has the wide hips of the GTS, but it doesn't feel tank-like.
He specifically mentions the rear light strip. On the Carrera 4 and GTS models of the 991.2, there is this illuminated red bar that connects the taillights.
It's a signature design element. It makes the car look planted and wide at night. And frankly, the design of the 991.2 is aging like fine wine. It looks modern enough to pass as a new car to the uninitiated, but it has a classic elegance that the more angular, aggressive 992 is maybe moving away from.
It's the timeless factor. You don't look at a 991.2 and think old car. You just think Porsche.
And that's the ultimate goal of 911 design.
So we've dissected the philosophy, the engine wars, the generational tech gap, and the essential specs. Let's try to land this plane. If I'm a listener sitting on a pile of cash looking for a sports car, how do I choose?
Okay, let's summarize the verdict based on our deep dive by persona.
I like it. Persona number 1, the collector. You value sound above everything. You want an investment that might go up in value. You don't care if you get smoked at a stoplight by a Tesla.
Buy the 991.1. Specifically a GTS or maybe a Targa, it's the last of the Mohicans. It's raw, it screams, and it's an emotional asset. It's an auditory time capsule.
Persona number 2, the tech flex buyer. You need the warranty, you need the brand new license plate, you want the big screens, the status, and you want everyone to know you bought the latest model.
Yeah.
And you don't mind a drive that feels a bit more filtered.
Then you buy the 992. It's a technological marvel. It's faster, safer, and more luxurious. It is the best car, objectively, but be prepared to pay that new car premium and take the massive depreciation hit.
But if you are persona number 3, the rational enthusiast, the smart money.
Right.
You want to drive the car every day. You want to scare yourself a little bit in the canyons, but relax in traffic. You want physical buttons. And you want to save $150,000 to spend on, I don't know, gas and tires.
Then the 991.2 GTS is the winner. It hits that perfect sweet spot. It has the torque of the new cars, the steering feel of the old cars, and a price point that just makes sense. It's the Goldilocks 911.
It really does seem like the peak intersection of value and fun.
It validates the owner's argument completely. He's not just justifying his purchase. He's identified a unique window in automotive history where the tech was good enough to be helpful, but not intrusive enough to be annoying.
Before we sign off, I will leave you with a final thought. We talked a lot about the experience cost.
We did.
As we look at the future of cars, hybridization, electrification, massive touchscreens covering the entire dashboard, we look back at the 991.2 not just as a used car, but as the last modern 911 that actually let the driver do the work.
It's a very valid question. We might be standing on the absolute edge of the analog cliff. The 9991.2 might be the last stronghold before everything becomes a simulation.
And if that's the case, isn't owning a 921.2 actually an investment in your own happiness? Maybe that $150,000 saving isn't just about money, it's about buying a ticket to an experience that is slowly going extinct.
A savvy investment in joy. I like that.
Something to mull over while you browse the classifieds tonight. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.
Drive safe.